What's going on, guys? It's Demon. I'm just here to show you guys a couple of tips and tricks that I use through PVM, including my setup, rotations that I use, and items which are really helpful and useful, which I wasn't using them a couple of months back. I've just noticed that some people might need this advice, bit of help, etc. So I thought I'd make a video to help you all out. So, on to the first trick. Okay, so the first bit of advice I have is setting up a preset with everything that you'll use on a boss encounter, which I've got on mine. I've got my 4 binding contracts. I've got the incense sticks. I've got weapon poison, penance powder, anti-poison plus, even though that is, if you've got overload salves, that is included in that, but this is prior to me getting overload salves. I've got my scripture jazz, scripture when. Eventually I'll have a full book here. And I've got the manuscript pages to charge the books if I need to before the boss encounter. It's very good to have a preset like this. Again, only recently had this and it's helped loads. It saves so much time. It saves you rummaging through your bank, like getting what familiar you need. You can think, right, okay, what do I need for this situation that I'm going into? And you can summon your familiar, and with the scrolls to add to the familiar as well, so they can use their special attack. So it's just a quick rundown of everything that I've got in my inventory of what they do. So the incense sticks, they provide various buffs around everything that you use generally on a day-to-day basis. The ones that I can't stress enough is the lunchtime incense sticks. They increase your potion duration. There's the Qualm incense sticks. They produce extra damage with your poison damage. They're absolutely phenomenal. And then the other one that I use quite a lot of is the Spiritweed incense, which increases the amount of times that your familiar can use its special attack, which is absolutely phenomenal. Penance powder is exactly like the Penance aura. It allows you to have any restoration for any damage you receive for your prayer. Very expensive item at the moment. They're about 800k per powder. Each powder provides you with half an hour worth of protection. They are definitely worth it though, especially if you're going for long boss encounters where you feel like prayer is essential, and then obviously it saves you on bank space, inventory space, sorry, with other prayer potions, etc, etc. Then there's obviously the manuscripts and the scriptures. So it goes without saying that if you haven't got a god book, you should get one, even if you get the one of a mascot. They all provide excellent boosts and for different things. So like the Scripture When is very, very good for AoE damage. Scripture Jazz is specifically for major big bosses, and you want to DPS that boss down as quick as you can. And then you have got the full book, which I haven't got here, which increases your crit rate, and it is absolutely phenomenal. But it's very, very expensive, about 500 mil. So the second bit of advice I've got for you guys is the other items that are really helpful during boss encounters. And other general PVM situations. So we've got the Ancient Elven Ritual Shard. Again, I've only recently used this because I gained it as a drop from one of the Elder Trove creatures. It's about 18 to 20 mil on the GE. It basically it's a free prayer restoration, so it saves you on prayer pots, etc, etc. It's brilliant. Like you can't fault it. There's no point over time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is over time it will pay for itself. Just with the prayer restoration that you will get. The other thing that you get is the enhanced Excalibur from doing the Elite Seer Village quest tasks. It's free food, so it's a free heal. It heals 4% of your maximum life points over 40 seconds. A lot of the time you'll find the fact that once you get comfortable with the boss, you probably will only use your Excalibur, and in niche situations as well, like if you get caught out. But that's all down to learning boss mechanics and things like that. What I have noticed is a lot of people in like PVM in general do not use other stuff like your power burst of vitality, your vulnerability bombs, and your adrenaline potions. So adrenaline potions are made with herblore. You need them essentially for high DPS. As soon as you use an ultimate ability, you can pop your adrenaline renewal or adrenaline potion or super adrenaline potion, and gain all of that adrenaline that you lost back, or most of it at least anyway, so then you can start firing off your thresholds, your ultimate abilities, and things like that. The vulnerability bombs, they are quite pricey, in fact they only last for 5 minutes each. However, the damage increase is ridiculous, because you get 10% vulnerability on the opponent, which is amazing damage. Especially as with necromancy, it's all about hit chance. So it always hits with necromancy. It'll never fail a hit. The only thing is, when you have that little percentage on the side of the boss, that's how much damage output you will have of your maximum damage. And so the higher that is, the more damage you're going to deal. Power-based vitality is really, really good for situations where you're going to need to tank something. Say, for example, the next ice prison. So as soon as it says prepare to die in a prison of ice, as long as you've got freedom free, you can use freedom, or if you could preempt it and use anticipation, pop your power burst of vitality, and the big hit that next hits at you, it won't really damage you. It will look like it's taken off half your health, but then once the power burst vitality wears off, and through soul split, you will have gained pretty much all of your health back and would have mitigated that mechanic with no issues at all. Next bit of advice I've got for you guys is overloads. So they are absolutely brilliant. You need them for high level PVM, or pretty much most in situations in PVM, as they are a flat increase to your levels, and the simple fact is that they constantly renew every 6 seconds, so you never lose your buffs. So except for like with extreme potions, like your extreme necromancy, extreme magic, etc., they eventually decrease over the 6 minutes. They gradually lower your stats back to what they were in the beginning. An overload doesn't do that. It restores your combat levels back up to what they were from the overload boost, which makes them absolutely brilliant. So you never lose anything on your DPS. You can start making them from 96 Herblore, the original overload. Nothing wrong with it. It's an absolutely brilliant piece of kit. After that, you can eventually upgrade to the Supreme Overload, which is an extra 2 to the increase to the level, and then eventually you can get onto the Elder Overloads, which is another 2 again, so it's 4 increase, I believe, from the original Overload, which again goes without saying, it is absolutely brilliant for damage. You can get other versions of Overload, so you've got your Aggro Overload, which includes an Aggression Potion, etc. Really good for Slayer. However, I opted out of that, and I just bring an Aggression Potion with me. The one thing I do use now is the Elder Overload Salve, which I needed 107. I believe you need 107 Herblore to make. But it pays for itself through getting that level, as it gives you your poison immunity, it gives you Dragonfire immunity, it gives you prayer restore, so you can get rid of your prayer restore potions. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a definite must to get the at least 96 Herblore, especially for doing high level PVM. Okay, so on to Invention. For high DPS and higher level PVM, Invention is really, really key. It unlocks various buffs to your gear and your weapons. I haven't got best in slot at the moment. You don't really need it, but if you've got Invention and you're trying to do high PVM, you need to get some perks, because you can get really cheap perks, like Precise 6, for example. It's very, very cheap to get, and the damage increase is absolutely brilliant. You've got to capitalize on anything that you can, and so if you've got that free damage increase, then you may as well take it. If you guys need anything more on Invention, I'm more than happy to help with giving you advice on what perks to get, and how to achieve those perks. If you guys want me to make a video on it or whatever, just ask. I've got no issues in doing that for you, and I'll talk you through of biting 2 Undead Slayer, and Crackling 4 Relentless 3, things like that, just to increase your DPS that bit more. So now we're getting on to the types of food that people use through PVM. So you will notice a lot of people with inventories like, let me have a look here. So they'll have their potions and they'll have the rest of them just full of sharks or rocktails or sailfish, etc. It's definitely not the way to go. When you eat regular food, so like your sharks and sailfish and stuff like that, you end up losing 10% adrenaline every time you consume a bit of food. That's not ideal. It obviously sometimes you do need that big heal, but say for example you only use sharks. Well, they only heal 2,000 hit points, so it's not a great deal for that 10% of loss in adrenaline. What the greatest thing to do is get yourself some blue blubber jellies or some green blubber jellies if you've got a bit less money, and some sourdough and brews. So what you can do is something called one tick eating. So as long as you press your food, then your potion, within very quick succession of each other, you'll end up eating them both at exactly the same time. So it will look something like this. So obviously I've got full health, so you didn't see the blubber. But I took the potion and I ate the blubber at exactly the same time. So the blubber heals for 750, and the adrenaline sourdough and brew heals for 1,000. So in turn, I had 1,750 life points healed. However, I wouldn't have lost any adrenaline because the blubber jellyfish do not lose you adrenaline, and neither do the sourdough and brews. And as long as you've got overloads on, you don't lose any reductions to your stats, because obviously the overload within 6 seconds will replenish that then, so then you don't lose anything. It's much better way of eating. It saves you on adrenaline, which then in turn increases your DPS, because you don't, say for example you're quite close to your threshold, you push in just enough to hit your threshold, and then you go, oh my god, I need to eat, I've been hit by a mechanic. You quickly eat, and then all of a sudden you can't use that threshold anymore. However, if you use blubbers and sourdough and brews, you can. You can pair them again with regular food in really dire situations. So say if you need a massive heal because you've just been hit by a mechanic and you know there's another big mechanic coming straight after, you can then, you can 3-tick eat if you need to. So you go like that and you will consume everything in one go. I haven't quite got it down yet, because I'm not very good at it, because I only use blubbers and the sourdough and brews. But it is possible, if you need that extra bit of healing, but I really don't recommend it. I really only recommend using the blubbers and the sourdough and brews. Blubbers are expensive though, that is the only drawback on them. The blue blubbers are sitting about, I think it's about 10k, and the green blubbers are about 5k. So if you need to, you can use the green blubbers, but they do heal 500 instead of 750, which is fine. There shouldn't be a lot of situations where you need that much of a heal. If there is, you need to sort of look back what you're doing on the mechanics, because you want to take as little damage as possible, which makes any boss encounter quite easily doable. You only need to eat if you mess up. That should be the situation, because any boss is easy as long as you know the mechanics, which again in this clan there's plenty of us who are more than happy to help out, with teaching you mechanics, getting you kills, etc, etc, etc. And we will host events and stuff to help mitigate that and allow you to learn the mechanics quite easily. So something else that I've noticed people do tend to struggle with is your rotation for your damage. I'm not the best at it, do not get me wrong, but I do get quite consistent kills, and you've got to utilise your thresholds in the way that they're meant to be used. So at the beginning of a rotation, what I'll tend to do is, say for example I'm fighting Raziel, I will go into the boss fight under living death, with all my conjures and my overloads and all etc. already preempted before I go into the fight, just because it saves you trying to click it, and it saves you on a global cooldown, trying to get them off while you're actually fighting him. So it will start with something quite close to this. So I'll start off with my living death. I'll start attacking, and I'll allow my 3 basic abilities to build up my stacks. So I'm starting to gain necrosis stacks here, and I'm starting to gain souls. So as soon as I hit 5 souls or 12 necrosis stacks, I'll start off with my Finger of Death, and I will go with the Finger of Death again. And now I'm at 5 souls, so I will use Soul Volley, and then I will also use my tier 90 spec, followed by a tier 95 spec, and then allow the stacks to build again. I'll use my auto attack because that's become charged. And again, we will use another Finger of Death and another Volley of Souls. So there's another way you can do that rotation, because Living Death also allows you, if you have the Zut Cape with adrenaline potions, etc., with you as well, your best bet is to fire off as many Death Skulls as you possibly can. If you haven't got the Zut Cape, it's not really worth it. But if you need help getting the Zut Cape, again, more than happy to do a video on that and how to do it quite simply, in all honesty. As long as, again, you can get the mechanics down, it's quite easy to get. But your basic with necromancy is, when you've got stacks, spend them. If you're trying to AoE a load of bosses down or a load of monsters down, Threads of Fate is absolutely crucial, as it allows you to channel any of your abilities through Threads of Fate to multiple enemies. So, for example, if you're running Elite Dungeons, if there's a load of mobs there, you can quite easily clear pretty much most of them, if not all of them, by clicking Threads of Fate and then using your tier 90 spec. And that will deal upwards of about 13k each. And then you have got time to get 3 abilities off. So if you manage to get it so you can use your tier 90 spec, and then use Soul Siphon, and then use your Volley of Souls. Those are the 3 best options that I have found with clearing mobs, as it allows you to get plenty of damage off, all within quick succession. So now I'm just going to talk you through my basic rotation that I use. Again, it's never always the same. Sometimes it changes. Like I say, I'm not a perfect PVMer sort of kind of person. Mistakes are fine. You can make mistakes and still get kills. But what I generally follow and try to do is this exactly. So I'll put my potions on, poison potion, and then we'll summon our conjures. I'll always start the fight with using Invoke Death, because it's a free damage of 30k. Or I think it's 10% of the boss's health, or so, it's something like that. But most of the time, it's once the boss reaches 30k health, it's dead. It's definitely worth using, because, well, it's a free 30k damage out of nowhere, just for simply getting the boss to 30k. So as opposed to getting it to 0 life points, 30,000 life points, and the boss is down, it's 100% worth using every single time, as the damage that you can output doesn't always match that 30k. Sometimes you can get 30k off with no problem, but there's no point refusing that free damage. So I'll make sure my book is active. I'm using a Wen here. We would usually normally Jazz if I'm doing a single concentrated boss, but Wen book is still very, very good. So I will Living Death now, and then we'll go straight into the fight. I'll use a Vulnerability Bomb while I'm in it. I will allow the stacks to gain. I will Adrenaline Renewal, and then I will fire off my Volley of Soul, my Death Skull, straight away. And then we're at 12 Necrosis stacks, so we'll go with the Finger of Death. And then we'll go with another Finger of Death. And then you see Volley of Souls is ready again, so we're going to use that straight after. And then we're going to go with another Finger of Death. And then a Volley of Souls. And then now we will use our tier 90 spec, followed by our tier 95 spec. And then we will carry on with the general rotation. So then as soon as you use Finger of Death, after you use your tier 95 spec, if you auto attack, your auto attack does double damage. Which you see by this buff bar here, so the Death Spark. And then again, Volley of Souls is, not Volley of Souls, sorry, Death Skulls and Volley of Souls both ready, so we'll go with them again. Conjures are down, so we'll resummon the conjures. and you just keep rotating things like this, and you've got to manage to be able to move away from the mechanics as well while doing that, which is why keybinds are essential. Again, for example, for the last part of the Raziel fight, if you are stood in one place, you will die very, very quickly. So you need to be moving around while firing off your abilities. And there is ways you can do it like that. We see I kept running while I still function with my ability. So you've got to... keybinds are brilliant, is basically what I'm trying to say to you, because once you've got your keybinds, you can fire off abilities without having to make your revo bar do it. Because if you're walking, and you click away from an enemy, the revo bar will not trigger, which is why then you need your keybinds to manually input them, so you can still do damage while you're running around, because the more damage you do to a boss, the less time you've got to spend in the encounter, which then in turn means you get quicker kills, more loot, and the other thing is you use less food, because if you kill the boss quicker, you're not in the encounter for as long, so you're not taking as much damage, etc., etc. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you found anything else that you want advice with, want help with, or anything like that, anything I didn't cover in here, this is only a brief, quick, entry to the videos that I'm going to do for the clan, just showing off things that I believe that help in PVM, and quite basic stuff really, but it's quite easy to overlook all of these things, because it's like, oh, that costs extra money, I'm not going to do that. But it is definitely worth doing, as the damage increase is incredible, so then in turn allows you to make more money by getting the kills, because there might be some bosses which might need certain things like the vulnerability bomb, etc., etc. If you guys want anything else, so like if you want a bossing video, where you want me to run through a Zut kill, an elite dungeon kill, anything like that, to try and help you with mechanics, etc., like things like that, more than happy to help with that. Just let me know, and if the demand is there, I will make videos for whatever. Same with like invention and things like that, or other setups, or if there's any other items that I've got on or you've seen in my bank, etc., that you want to know how to get or how to do, just ask and I'll be more than happy to help. But again, thank you guys for watching.